Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here. And like clockwork, people are already running on the stores, running on the grocery stores, trying to get food following the recent plans made surrounding these SNAP benefits. Now, this I believe to be 100% manufactured. I think they are doing a dry run for what is to come in the near future. And I think we should all take note of what's happening as we see these delays now, despite the judge's rulings on the SNAP EBT cards as far as being reloaded. They're creating a famine by manufactured chaos. Okay, look, this isn't about saying all these people on welfare should be getting all this food and be able to spend it on junk food and all this kind of crap. No, not at all. And I'm not even saying it's wrong to cut a bunch of these programs. It's just that the environment has been created in order to create chaos and then bring in order. So therefore, they bring this in. It creates a so-called solution, which in the end actually causes further problems and further issues with money, and also a greater form of dependency. And it creates a circular narrative, which again benefits the state. So we're going to go into what this means, what exactly is happening as we see some lunacy in the stores already as people run on the stores, and also how this also correlates with all the other issues with the supply chain. Again, a manufactured collapse indeed, as they call for government to run grocery stores, and the UK are facing similar issues. Before we get into it, I urge people to check those links below and get prepared today. Go and check out heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you'll get 5% off as well as free shipping on these items. This is a no-brainer, and please go and sign up to purchase this today, because again, this is what keeps you out of the initial, or the eventual rather, ration lines, which they are really working their way up to right now. Also check out firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. There you can avoid that digital system. There you can avoid the CBDC system. And there you could buy physical gold, silver, platinum, palladium, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzalez and a complimentary investors package there. Of course, Mark does a lot of videos with us. He's very awake. Make sure to check out our recent videos with him, including why banks will fail and what people can do about it. But make sure to let him know in the form, in the comments of the form when you sign up, that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, W-A-M. Again, it has to be the exact link listed in the description. Nothing else, no shorter version, or else you won't be able to get the deals that you get here. Now let's get into this. So it says out of SHTF plan, some crazed lunatics are already storming into grocery stores and taking whatever they want. This, again, I believe to be a part of that manufactured chaos. It says, I suppose that we should not be surprised because they told us exactly what they intended to do. For weeks, food stamp recipients have been posting videos on social media telling us what will happen if their food stamp benefits are cut off. We have been warned that they will go to their local grocery stores and fill up their carts just as they normally do. We have also been warned that there will be violence if anyone tries to stop them when they leave without paying. A lot of people out there were convinced that these lunatics were bluffing, but the truth is that what they threatened to do has already started to happen. I mean, nothing shocking there. We've had an epidemic for 50 years, but all the more noticeable in the past 5 years of people rushing on stores, breaking in and trying to get food. And by the way, the COVID thing was also a part of the litmus test for all of this. And it's hard to avoid that very realistic fact, especially as they bring in this new push for bird flu, which we did a video on earlier, which I urge people to check out. But anyway, it says in Massachusetts, 2 crazed women were just arrested for shoplifting expensive groceries and then attacking employees. How much you want to bet while they're being arrested? I didn't do nothing. It's always the same. 2 women are facing charges for allegedly shoplifting expensive groceries and then attacking employees at a market basket in West Bridgewater, Massachusetts over the weekend. Olivia L. Bird, 37, of Quincy, and Rajane J. Bird, 28, of Hyde Park, were each charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, assault and battery, shoplifting by asportation, and disorderly conduct. They found out the hard way that stealing groceries is not as easy as TikTok influencers would have us believe, though still way too easy these days. In the real world, if you steal things, you could end up in prison. Apparently, these two women have expensive tastes because they were attempting to steal lobster meat, prime ribeye steaks, and truffle butter. I never got the thing with truffle, by the way. I don't, it doesn't really taste like anything. It's just really expensive stuff that I just don't see the point in. But anyway, investigators say the birds were concealing high-priced items, including lobster meat, prime ribeye steaks, and truffle butter in a bag while shopping. The women allegedly did not pay for the items at checkout and were confronted by store employees. The confrontation between store employees and these two women did not go well. In fact, one of the women hit a store employee with her phone right in the face. And I quote, "She cracked him hard with that cell phone right in the face," said Jeff Cuddy, who filmed the altercation. And the guy was respectful and responsible, and he just let it go. I'm glad they were caught. Hopefully, this will discourage other potential thieves. But there will inevitably be some people who will be able to get away with stealing food from their local grocery stores. In Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, police are currently looking for a man who walked straight out of the front door with a full cart of food. This is happening all too much. And as I mentioned, in 2025, stealing a cart of food is a small crime, depending on what you select. A full cart of food can easily cost you several $100s these days. Now, it really is not a small crime because, again, this is a huge amount of money for an already bankrupt industry, which are the grocery chains. The retail apocalypse is upon us, my friends. We're seeing massive closures. And again, I believe this is all by design. And regarding the SNAP EBT thing, as this Zero Hedge article says, oh, snap, judges order Trump administration to use emergency funds for food assistance. Two judges have stepped in over the federal government suspension of food aid benefits for tens of millions of Americans, set to end on November 1st amid the shutdown. And this the government shutdown, it's a joke because they're still sending money to Israel and they're still using it to spy on you, but not food. This is all, again, manufactured. They go out of their way to focus on what will rile the people up the most. There's National Guard troops in California deploying for food pantries. It's a crazy time. On Friday, U.S. District Judge John McConnell of Rhode Island, announced that he would order the U.S. Department of Agriculture to distribute a pool of contingency funds as soon as possible. While minutes before, Boston U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani ruled that the U.S. government must announce by November 3rd whether they would authorize at least partial funding for the program using around $6 billion in contingency funds. And so when will they do it? McConnell's order is related to a case brought by Democrat-led cities and nonprofits who sought to keep federal funds flowing from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, while Talwani's case was brought by over 24 Democrat states and the District of Columbia, which, of course, completely takes pressure off Congress to find a speedy resolution to the ongoing shutdown. We're sure judges will simply order federal employees to be paid, effectively unshutting down the government. Now, we are seeing massive amounts of money spent. And this is what happens when they print a ton of money. They bring in all this red tape. They destroy industry, destroy competition, prop up the big businesses. And then on top of that, you have people on the left that are going, hey, this is all terrible. We need to stop these big corporations. But then they bow to big pharma in 2020 and into 2023 and accept the narratives that have been given to them by these giant corporations while they close, family-owned grocery stores, but tell Walmart and the big ones that they're open because they're needed, and they, of course, are, not to be shut down in any case. Again, it's not fair, first of all, obviously, but that's by design. They are propping up monopolies and then blaming capitalism for it, when in reality, it has nothing quite to do with capitalism or the initial idea or the sense of capitalism, which is basically shaking hands and trading things consensually. It is what we see today with corporate fascism or corporatism, or the move towards technocratic communism, which people will say, well, wait, you just said fascism and now communism. Full circle, my friends. They all meet eventually on both extremes when you go in a full circle. It's not left or right. It's all just part of a paradigm. It's one big circle where you end up going nowhere, or at least you keep ending up in the same place, but worse. So this is happening as they are devastating the supply chain. And by they, I mean the state and governments around the world, as they go after farmers. And as they are in the U.S. right now, there's a 73-year shortage, 73-year record shortage of of cattle head. And all simultaneously, we see, Trump pushing for this Argentinian beef, this massive shift to bring Argentinian beef into the United States to bail out Argentina, which again is so insane because we're seeing shortages in the United States already. Then add the bird flu stuff in. It all is part of the same agenda. Now, I believe that they'll use, emergency orders here to ration out food as expected. They create all these issues. They cause the inflation. Then they cause people to be unable to afford things, which causes theft, which causes crime, which causes more instability, which causes, of course, more order, more control. It goes in a circle forever. People can't afford their food. I don't know how anyone is, honestly. And that's by design. They want to make criminals out of people, not to mention the people that are just buying truffle or stealing truffle butter, which is obviously not someone that's in need of food. They're just being a bougie asshole who doesn't want to actually take responsibility for their own life. Look, we are dealing with they want everyone to be on welfare. First of all, that's part of the World Economic Forum's agenda. You will own nothing. You will be happy. You will be placated on drugs, playing video games, as Yuval Noah Harari said his dream is to see. You won't own any property. BlackRock and Blackstone will have all of that. You'll be on drugs that are going to mess you up, Ozempic, and then, of course, not to mention the SSRIs. And then you'll, on top of that, be dependent on the government grid as you already are, the government water as you already are, and it's going to be based on credits. It'll be based on social credits, based on your digital ID, which they're rolling out everywhere. They have the real ID. And this is a way that they get to that agenda. They have to create the chaos in order to come in as a so-called solution. They're doing that with the collapse, their manufacturer collapse of the dollar, with inflation, which is a major part of this right now, of people being unable to afford food. And then, this shutdown where they know what they're doing. They're specifically targeting certain things to create an unpopular narrative surrounding food and famine. This is, in my opinion, a slow run, a test, a litmus test for the future collapse of the food supply, which they have been orchestrating for many years. Because what is one of the most important things for you to have on a daily basis? Food, obviously, as goes with everyone, as goes with your family. And if they make it more difficult when you're dependent already on grocery stores, then you, unfortunately, most of you out there will accept their so-called solutions. And their solutions are dark, as we see the SNAP EBT cards. We see the delays are still possible despite the judge's rulings. And we see this push for Argentinian beef and the shortages within the country, all by design, as we see this fake government shutdown. As I've been reporting for a while, the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, wants to open city-owned grocery stores, and they're already doing this. They already have grocery stores everywhere where, first of all, you need to tap a card to get in. You have to show ID to get in. It's part of the digital ID rollout. And just like the government's buying up Intel and, of course, all these contractors, the idea is that they could go against the Constitution because it'll be a private company, but they will be under the shadow of the state. And that is how you introduce technocracy. I've been talking about this for a long time. This idea eventually will be government-owned grocery stores utilizing social credit scores. In your 15-minute cities with your digital IDs and your CBDC, central bank digital currencies, the expose reports high energy bills in the UK are leading to a collapse of confidence in political institutions. We're seeing grid failures. We're seeing energy bills sky high. Perfect situation for them to say, hey, we know you have all those problems. Let us be the solution to you. Just join this program with us in the state, and we'll make everything free and easy and convenient in the future. Tyranny comes under the guise of convenience. This is one of the number one ways that they want to enslave humanity. They've been planning this for a long time. Look, the state depends on the dependence of the masses. And, the dependency is the exclusion of freedom. Individual freedom and humanity are both synonymous. They are based in independence, individualism, self-responsibility. Now, I have a lot of books behind me here. One of them is Trilaterals Over Washington by Patrick Wood and Anthony C. Sutton. Very important one. It goes over, the history of all this because obviously technocracy has been propped up for a long time, and that is the overall goal. They use China as a guinea pig state. Kissinger met with Mao to create this alliance with China to prop them up as a monopoly on trade, which they pretend to be going up against each other today on, which is all complete bullshit. The Trilateral Commission with Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Rockefellers propped up China as a guinea pig state for technocracy. Then they come in with Sesame Credit in the early 2010s, which when I talked about, people called me crazy, but now it's mainstream. They have facial recognition on the streets. They have all this stuff determining what kind of foods you're buying. They're tracing every single message you send. And of course, this is exactly what they're rolling out in the United States. They've tried to normalize and desensitize us to it, like in India with the attempt to confiscate gold and push everyone into a digital system, which didn't quite work because gold is a very spiritual thing in India. However, what's interesting about all that is, they roll that out, and of course people push back, but they've already normalized people to it since, because they have to whittle it away little by little, utilizing smartphones as convenience and smart everything as convenience, self-checkout, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Internet of Things. They need to get rid of this old world and create a new world, the new world order, which is based in not warfare, but complete compliance, because it's that which you depend on most to eat, sleep, and feel so-called comfortable. And, simultaneously, we have the push in Australia to demonetize currency. We have the rollout then of, these digital IDs in places like Sierra Leone. And then carbon credits in Kenya, where the Ojek people were banned from society essentially and starved because they didn't have a good carbon credit score. In Sierra Leone, you couldn't get a job, couldn't drive a car, have a license, have a home, do anything essentially without having a digital ID, which was rolled out by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now they mandate it in the UK. Now they're mandating it in Europe, but in the European Union, though they're slow to start, but they have it. They've rolled out the digital euros, the central bank digital currency, last month in the European Union. They're rolling out the CBDC in the UK. They're rolling out the digital ID and CBDC in Canada. They're doing it in Russia and Ukraine. They're doing it in China and Taiwan. They're doing it across the board. And yes, they're doing it in Mexico with the digital ID system and biometric CERP. And yes, they are doing it in the United States with Real ID and the Genius Act, which, again, don't forget what they just did in Vietnam. They banned 86 million people from accessing their bank account because they didn't go along with the biometric system, the biometric digital ID. So why does this relate to these people rushing on stores and trying to get food? Because that is the entry point, the excuse, the pretext to bring in this new system of governance, panic, dependency, obviously strife and emergencies, which allow them to bring in emergency declarations, as the United Nations said in the United Nations Pact for the Future, which was signed in September 2024. 193 countries signed on to it. In it, it says if you go up against the government or say something negative about the state, you can have your bank account shut down. You'll be given a social credit, digital ID. It'll determine how much food you can be rationed, all that kind of stuff. But they also say they could do any of this stuff generally for everyone in the case of an emergency declaration. 193 countries signed on to that. You know how many countries are in the world? It's debated, but it's between 199 and 204. So in that situation, pretty much every country in the world has signed on to this. People will say, well, Trump wouldn't allow that to happen. And, it couldn't happen here. People would go crazy. That's what they want. They want the chaos. They know people are going to rise up against them. That's a point. They're just a conduit to what they want to bring in. And people will then say, well, then what are we supposed to do? If we can't even fight back, what are we supposed to do? Well, you don't fight back by doing what they expect you to do most. You fight back by doing exactly what they don't want you to do, which of course is be independent. If they depend on the masses, if they depend on the dependence of the masses, then the last thing they want is for you to be independent. They will use cyber false flag attacks. They will do anything they need to cause chaos, knowing that you probably don't have things stocked up at home, knowing that you probably have all your money tied up in a bank, knowing that you probably depend completely on the government grid and electricity, water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they depend on your dependence on those things. So the solution is not, I mean, protesting is great and all, but it's not protesting. It's not asking the government to fix this stuff for you because, oh, they'll be happy to step up and it'll bring in the new central bank digital currencies and digital ID systems, which they plan to roll out anyway. But they want you to panic and be dependent. So therefore, withdraw from the system that enslaves us. If we're dependent on the government in the first place with the SNAP EBT thing, that already tells you enough right there that you're dependent on the government to give you food after they bankrupt you. Which means we're not too far off from an entire country being dependent in this way, in this system, with their new system, which they'll fund, which they'll control with social credits and carbon credits, and of course, digital currencies and digital IDs in 15-minute cities, keeping you docile without any property, without any will in life. Withdraw from their system, my friends. One way to make sure that you never have to depend on their poisonous food and their Bill Gates ration lines, which they say they want to do. And of course, they're already pushing for rations of mRNA food for soldiers. If you want to avoid something like that, it goes without saying. I've been saying this for a while. I make no money off this. I just want people to know that this is a real world solution. Heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. Again, those links are in the description. There's organic kits. There's, of course, freeze-dried food, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Of course, there's heirloom seeds. My goodness, why wait until it's too late? This is your opportunity. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you'll get 5% off as well as free shipping on this. I really urge everyone watching right now to please go and check this out for yourself, for your family. I haven't made a sale on this in about 2 months, and it's okay. I just want to keep planting that in your brain so that people that haven't taken this action yet do. You could pay over time. You don't have to pay all at once. They accept gold and silver. They accept a lot of things. Just please, for the sake of yourself and your family, get prepared in this way. Also, make sure to check out things like, and again, it has to be this exact link, firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ there you can avoid the CBDC system. You can avoid the digital ID system. You can buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium, hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, or put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system. Schedule an appointment with Mark Gonzalez and get a complimentary investors package as well. You get that free consultation. Let him know in the comments that you found him at World Alternative Media or WAM, W-A-M. And speaking of that, I'm just about to finish this video and get on another call with Mark and do another video with him. But make sure to check out our most recent videos with him as well. We have lots on the banking failures as well as cashless bank runs, historic silver shortages, and much more. 86 million bank accounts recently shut down. Go and check that out. Again, it has to be that exact link, firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. We have a lot of options in the description below. Of course, check out our link for Wave Watch 2.0. You'll get $100 off when you use code WAM, W-A-M, endorsed by people like Dr. Brian Artis. You don't need an app. You don't need Wi-Fi for this. No monthly fees, no cords, nothing. It's 1,100 plus frequencies on your wrist, improving your sleep and balancing your emotion, enhancing mental clarity, and boosting your energy. Also helps with autoimmune function. Again, that's the link in the description for Wave Watch. Make sure to use code WAM, W-A-M, and you will get that $100 off. Now, finally, of course, health is important. I urge people to go and check out vni.life/WAM, W-A-M, and you'll get a whole bunch of super supplements there. If you use code WAM15, W-A-M-15, you will get 15% off, including on things like Protovite, which is 100 plus vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. This is absolutely incredible. The before and after says a lot. I mean, look at the problems with the small white blood cells, the lack of circulation, the loss of negative charge. And then this is the after. 5 minutes after, restored negative charge, red blood cells, freely flowing, white blood cells, 4 times their size. This is 5 minutes after taking Protovite. This is incredible. Usually this stuff takes a month to do. So I urge people to go and check that out in the links below. We have many other options below, but alas, I'm going to close it off for now and let people go and check that out on Rumble and BitChute, World Alternative Media. Make sure to look at the links in there. Help support us if you can. We have Go Get Funding. We have Patreon. We have Subscribestar. Anything helps to keep us alive. You guys are the heartbeat of independent media, my friends, and we could not survive without you. So I just want to thank everyone who's reached out and supported us. We are facing bankruptcy regularly, but we are trying our best to fight back no matter what. If you pledge $4.99 or more on Patreon, Subscribestar, or exit at World Alt Media, you'll get exclusive content, including early access to content, as well as we're going to be doing a bunch more on there right away. We could also do videos directly to you if you have questions for us. We have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. And of course, we have a Bitcoin address that you can scan on the screen here or check out in the description below in text form. We have a Cointree link with a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate in if you please, including privacy coins. And of course, we have our Teespring store with a bunch of merchandise. As always, find us on Telegram, Band.video, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. Though, of course, Band.video is going down right away. So if you're watching on there, make sure to go and subscribe on Rumble and BitChute. Of course, we're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson. And we're on the Bad Guys, TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we are banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already, my friends. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.